Obviously, young voters are going to be really key in 2024. So we thought we would convene a big Zoomer TikTok panel. We're very excited to have us joining this morning. We've got Harry Sisson. He is a very enthusiastic and outspoken Biden supporter. And we also have Link Lauren, who is a conservative, a little bit Vivek curious, but I think still keeping his options open in terms of the GOP primary. Fair to say, Link?
Well, whoa. I'm an independent.
Okay.
I'm an independent,
All right.
common sense moderate.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, we'll see about that as we get into the conversation.
I'm anti-Biden. I'm anti-Biden for sure.
Well, that's good.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Well, we can get into all of that. Gentlemen, we're really glad to have both of you. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Of course. So I wanted to start, and Harry, I'll start with you, but I'll give you the same question to Link. You know, voters of your generation are basically not really feeling either party so much, and we've got some approval ratings of the leaders of the two parties we can put up on the screen here. So let's start with Joe Biden. I think he sits in this particular survey at 37%, and then Donald Trump, very similar, 37%. And Joe Biden sits at about the same percentage point, right in the 30s, 37%. So overwhelmingly unfavorable opinion of both of these two individuals among young voters. So Harry, from your perspective as a Biden supporter, what are your peers getting wrong?
I'm not necessarily sure it's what my peers are getting wrong. I think it possibly might be what the administration is doing wrong when it comes to messaging.
Okay.
I think that the Biden administration has done so much for young people, whether it's on climate change or historic investments in infrastructure or even education investments. There's a lot there that young people should be excited about. I mean, the largest investment in fighting climate change ever is something that we can all be really happy about, really excited about. But I think that on the occasion, the administration does a poor job of kind of pitching these things to young people, which is sort of understandable given the era we're in right now with social media and technology. I don't think anybody has really perfected how we get the message through social media, like in terms of politics. I think a lot of people on social media have, but not necessarily politics. So I think once we get that message out more, once we start saying, hey, look at all these amazing things that the Biden administration has done for young people, especially as we get close to the election, more money is involved in politics. The opinions, at least on favorability, will start to shift.
Okay.
So
go ahead, Link.
I love when the Biden administration says it's the messaging. They're like, people don't know how well we're doing for them. They just don't know how good they have it. It's almost like this cultural gaslighting. Like they think if they keep repeating Bidenomics, Bidenomics, Bidenomics over and over and over, young people are just going to have more money in their bank account. So it's not really translating. And I don't know if it's the messaging because young people are just stressed financially. That's what I read every week in thousands of comments and messages.
So Link, let me just Link to follow up on that. Do you feel like the Republicans have offered an agenda that's resonating with young people or that you expect would resonate with young people? I do have some numbers I can put up on the screen for this as well.
For sure. Let's see.
Go ahead and put the third graphic up on the screen. This was some polling of how young people feel on a variety of issues. This is 18 to 29-year-olds. Over time, we've seen them getting increasingly progressive on a variety of issues. Here you've got on stricter gun laws, wanting action on climate change, on same-sex relationships, on food and shelter being a basic right. So do you feel, I know you've got a critique of Biden here, and frankly, it's one that, I partially share, but do you think that the Republicans are offering something that could really fill that void?
Well, what I see from young people is they're much more beholden to policy than they are to political parties. So young people, they don't really care as much about Republican or Democrat. They want to vote for someone who's a transformational leader and who's actually going to help them. And I think young people really want someone who's closer to their age. To be honest, I'm not ageist. If Biden was some spry whippersnapper, I'd say go ahead, run for a second term. But the guy's pretty much incoherent, works 2 hours a day, and is stumbling and falling down. So most people do not want him to seek re-election.
So, Harry, you've been pretty vociferous. I can see you laughing there about Biden's age, but I think it's a legitimate concern. 70-something% of the American people agree. 69% of Democrats, actually the vast majority of the people in your age group specifically, I guess kind of mine as well, also think that Biden is far too old to run for president. So whenever you're engaging, with your audience, people who are young, how do you try and convince them? What's the response here to the critique?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think that talking about his age is wrong. I don't think that it's an unfair critique. And I understand why, some people might be concerned about his age, right? I get it. But I think that when we're talking about age, policy and accomplishments matter more. And the fact of the matter is this president has been one of the most accomplished and, in my view, one of the best presidents in modern history. And I'm happy to explain why.
Just hold on, Link. Hold on. We'll come to you. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
The American Rescue Plan, the bipartisan infrastructure deal, the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the PACT Act, the CHIPS Act, rejoining the WHO, the Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, the list goes on, right? I think that when you're looking at this president, look at the policy, look at the productivity of this administration, as opposed to, oh, let's just talk about his age, which, as I said, a fair concern. But in my view, what we get done is more important than the age of the candidate.
Okay, and then Link, you know, what Krystal asked you about policy and all of that. I mean, look, you went to NYU, both of you gentlemen, actually. It's kind of interesting in order to think about two different trajectories, crossing paths, I guess, in the night. Whenever we talk here about younger Republicans or even independent, non-Democratic voters, do you actually see a more policy concern? Because mostly from what I can tell, and from peers as well, a lot of it is around cultural concern. There's nothing wrong with that, but I do think that that is a major animating factor. I'm curious how you square your answer with kind of that observation that we've generally seen as dissonance to like what the overall cultural left is doing.
Well, I definitely think the mainstream media is profiting heavy off of these culture war issues. And I knew Harry was going to have his DNC talking points. He was going to list the CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
No, I totally good for you. But I've been traveling across this country the past year, and when you go talk to maybe a rural voter in Iowa in a small town who owns a small business, they're not feeling the effects of those things. So in a New York, Manhattan liberal elite bubble, you can list all of those accomplishments. But when you go out into the real world, people just aren't feeling it. They want someone new. They want someone different. So I'm not taking away that he's got these things passed and the debt ceiling and all of that, but people still want someone new. And I'll also point this out. If he has all of these accomplishments, why is he still neck and neck with Trump in the polls? Wouldn't there be a massive margin? Why is it always 1 point here, 1 point here, half a point here? Wouldn't he just be winning by a landslide if they say Trump's a criminal and Trump's been indicted 1,000 times and Biden's so great? Clearly, it's not sticking.
Yeah, except, you know, when we look at polls at this time in different elections, they were never right? Like Rudy Giuliani was leading at this point. And I find the point of, you know, the liberal talking point in Manhattan to be interesting because it's not just, you know, me going to NYU saying all these policies are great. It's like, no, the American people are really feeling this. Like the veterans who were exposed to toxic burn pits, do you want to tell them that, you know, they're not actually feeling the benefits? The people who have had their kids lost to terrible mass shootings, do you want to go tell them that the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which expands red flag laws, background checks are not significant? Do you want to go tell the record low unemployment, the people who now have jobs, the more jobs that Biden, like 13 million jobs in the Biden administration, would go tell those people that this administration is not working for them? I mean, or how about the people who were just coming out of COVID? President Biden inherited a constitutional crisis from Donald Trump, inciting an insurrection. You know, people are not vaccinated. Unemployment's still high. Nobody's making any money. Then President Biden comes in, buys a lot of vaccines, gets the job market back open by making crucial investments. I mean, if you would like to go tell all those people that what they experienced was fake, then by all means, but I think we're gonna listen to the American people, especially. I mean, we can go into the women and their reproductive freedoms who are being stripped. I mean, how about that 13-year-old girl in Mississippi recently who's now a mother? I mean, do you want to go tell her that the Republican policy is working, what this administration is fighting for when it comes to reproductive freedom is not real? I mean, I think that sounds more like a conservative talking point in wherever you might be living right now than you know, the liberal Manhattaner combating, like, you know, average Americans or anything like that.
Link, I did want to get your thoughts specifically on abortion, if you could respond on that piece, because obviously in elections this year and going back to the midterms, it's been a big issue for Republicans.
For sure.
We just had in Ohio issue 1, which was very much a pro-choice versus pro-life. Even in a red state like Ohio, overwhelmingly the pro-choice side wins. So how do you think Republicans should be talking about that issue, and how much do you think that that matters in terms of young people?
Well, I would say a ton of Republicans are pro-life, so they're totally fine with everything. But I'd like to point out, I'm a gay guy. I don't have kids. I don't even date women. So me opining on abortion, probably not the best person to talk to about this topic.
You're still allowed to have an opinion.
For sure.
Yeah.
You're still allowed to have an opinion, Link.
For sure. But when I talk to people, I do realize tons of this country they are pro-life, and you're going to have people who are pro-choice. So I'm not here to tell people who to vote for when they go to the ballot box. I'm just here to represent the thousands of comments and messages I read every week from people across this country.
Oh, I will. I will. Yeah, Republicans across the country are trying to take women's reproductive freedoms. I mean, it's that simple. We don't have to dodge the question. We can just be honest about it. Republicans across this country are trying to take women's reproductive freedoms. We saw it on the debate stage. Asa Hutchinson bragging about all the pro-life legislation he signed. Ron DeSantis bragging about his heart bill. Tim Scott saying that he'll sign the most conservative pro-life legislation of elected. Donald Trump saying that women should face punishment if they get an abortion. We have Alabama now suing or threatening to jail people who even assist women to get abortions. Not, the doctor, not the woman, but even people who assist. This is one of the biggest crises of our times, where we have Republicans directly infringing on the rights of women across this country. And it's disgusting. So when you're looking at 2024, you're thinking, man, how do we get back to a time where women can actually choose what they want to do with their body? You look at President Biden, you look at the Democrats, who have a record of putting on pro-choice judges to different courts, and even the Department of Justice right now, under President Biden, under Attorney General Merrick Garland, have sued consistently in these Republican states to get these bans overturned. Now, sorry, I don't want to take up too much time, but this is a very important issue. Anyway.
Well, Harry, how come Democrats didn't codify Roe versus Wade when they could have? And how come, even moving forward into this election, because I'm on the same page as you are, I'm pro-choice.
Sure.
I would like to see Roe versus Wade at the very least be codified and put back into place. That's actually not the message. That's not actually what they're pushing for. What they are saying is we just won't do the bad things that the Republicans are doing. Don't Democrats owe women, young people, people across this country more of an affirmative agenda to restore the rights that were lost, given that you do have these what in my opinion are atrocious situations of 13-year-olds being forced to bear their rapist babies? Don't
Absolutely.
They have a responsibility to go further than just saying we're better than the bad guys?
Krystal, I couldn't agree more, right? I couldn't agree more. I think that, in my view, though, the administration has laid out, especially President Biden, how they intend to reinstate these rights, whether it be through judicial nominees. President Biden has always said, I will appoint pro-choice justices. If there's an opening on the Supreme Court, you have Clarence Thomas in the 70s, Alito in the 70s, Roberts, who served for 15 years. President Biden has always said that. However, also President Biden said that he endorses removing the filibuster for codifying Roe v. Wade. Now, if we can get the Democratic senators that we need in the next election and retake the House, we'll do it. I'm so confident that it will get done. Now, as to why it hasn't happened previously, under President Obama, he had some super majorities, but a lot of those senators were from a lot more conservative states. The national sentiment on abortion wasn't the same. So do I blame those Southern, or maybe not Southern Democrats, but those Democrats who were in those more conservative states for not using their power then and codifying it? Absolutely. But the political kind of landscape was just a little bit different then. But it's still a missed opportunity, and I think if we get that opportunity again, we will take it.
Link, young voters, #1 issue at the polls. You said you're an independent, you're anti-Biden. If you're young, why should you not vote for Biden?
Well, I'm not here to tell anybody who to vote for. I think people should make their own decision.
Yeah.
Honestly, the biggest issue for me with Biden is the censorship on social media. I mean, going back to court to try and overturn the lower court's ruling to censor social media content and steer the narrative, that's just never going to sit well with me. I think his calamitous trip to Maui last week really solidified it for me. I mean, you go to Maui and give a speech about almost losing your Corvette in a small kitchen fire and making glib jokes and comments when people have lost everything. They've been torched to the ground. They can't find their families. They can't find their kids. He's cracking jokes. Then he hops on a plane to go back to his $18 million mansion in Lake Tahoe and take Pilates classes and walk around a parking lot with a smoothie. I want a transformational new leader in this country to sit in the Oval Office and really enact change. People need to see strength and see a real leader, and Joe Biden isn't giving me that. It's not giving young people that.
But Link, it's not just about what you're against. It's also got to be what you're for. Very likely the Republican nominee is going to be Donald Trump. Trump also censored on social media. You can see that. You can go and read the Twitter files, and you'll see his administration doing a lot of the same stuff that the Biden administration was doing. In fact, the Hunter Biden laptop thing happened while Trump was still president, so let's keep that in mind. That's #1. #2, in terms of hurricane response, he was, very late in terms of his response to Hurricane Maria.
He took 13 days. He showed up for 2 hours.
Go back and look how Donald Trump did.
No. It took 13 days, and then he was back in the Pilates studio.
My question to you directly, and then I'll get Harry in. My question to you directly is Trump better than Biden? You know, would you, if that's your choice, Trump v. Biden, or would you vote third party? Like, what would be your choice in that situation and why?
For sure. So the thing about American politics is you never know who's going to emerge. I mean, look at how many candidates were on the stage last week, right? So I'm going to keep my options open and see who I feel in November of 2024.
But Link, listen, but let's be real. This is what it's likely coming down to.
I'm probably the most real person. Let's get real, Krystal.
Trump is like 50% ahead of everybody else. You know, Nikki Haley gained like 3 points after this debate. It's not enough to overcome.
But if you guys have a nail in the coffin, but Krystal, if you have a nail in the coffin with the trial, then isn't it sealed up?
I'm just trying to figure out, where do you actually stand? Like, do you actually think Trump is better than Biden? If that's your choice, are you a Trump guy or are you on the fence? Are you looking at a third party candidate?
We also never said anything about nails in the coffin.
Yeah,
just to be clear.
Yeah, no, we've never said that. Definitely. So anyway, where do you stand if that's your choice? Where do you stand if that's your choice?
Honestly, traveling, getting to know these candidates, I really like some other candidates, and I'm looking to see who's going to emerge in November of 2024.
Okay.
Go
ahead, Harry.
That is.
I'd also like to point out.
That's what we call a non-answer.
You can let him finish. One second.
Hold on.
We'll get to you.
Hold on.
Go ahead, Link. Go ahead, Link.
I'm an independent new media journalist. So I report on culture war stories. I follow politics very closely. It's not my place to tell people how to vote or exactly who I'm going to vote for. Harry, obviously, he made the decision to totally endorse Joe Biden. And if they were paying for my flights and hotels, maybe I'd do the same thing too.
I wish my flights and hotels were paid for. Please put me in contact with who's doing that.
But it's okay.
I would love for it to be paid for.
But listen. I come from a place of journalism.
I gave you your time.
You're an influencer for Biden. So that's the difference here.
Harry, go ahead and respond.
Harry, you can go ahead and respond. Go ahead.
Sorry, guys. I apologize.
You're fine.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Krystal Saagar. So what we just heard from my counterpart on the right is what we call a non-answer. You asked him a question. Are you going to support Trump? He couldn't bring himself to support the 4-time indicted, disgraced former president who's now a proven sexual abuser or rapist.
Do journalists have
to Link, let him finish.
Or rapist as deemed in courts in New York, right? Couldn't give you a determination there. But just to respond to what he said earlier, I mean, I think it's just when you ask him, like, why would he support Trump over Biden, right? Why is he voting for Trump? He then cited President Biden going to Maui as one of his big reasons. And he's like, oh, he took 13 days. But
and the granddaughter.
But he wasn't clamoring. I don't think he's brought up the fact that Donald Trump took 15 days to go to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, which killed thousands, right? There's no criticism there. He's like, oh, Biden took 13 days. And the reason that Biden took 13 days is because Maui was on fire. Like, it's unsafe for the president and the Secret Service to travel there, along with the federal response going on. And the governor there was like, yeah, within 6 hours, the president met our needs. On the 10th, President Biden signed an emergency.
Wasn't Tulsi Gabbard there on the ground the next day?
On the 10th, President Biden signed an emergency declaration. So, look, you can clamor in with Tulsi Gabbard, this or that, or President Biden Maui. But, the people who are actually in Hawaii are saying, yeah, President Biden met all our needs within hours. Like, he's been great. The federal response has been fantastic.
I don't know, because
I've seen people in Maui. It's a bit more complicated. Yeah, go ahead.
I've seen people in Maui on their local news station saying, screw Joe Biden. They put up a sign over their businesses saying, we're sorry you lost your Corvette in the fire. I don't know if the people in Maui are so happy, but, God bless.
All right,
I'm just saying, can I say one thing real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
This comparison between me and Harry, I feel it's a false comparison. Harry is an influencer who's decided to totally endorse Joe Biden, which is his prerogative, right? I'm a new media journalist. My medium happens to be TikTok, right? It's not my place to opine or tell people who to vote for. I'm not owned by a political party. I'm not owned by a media conglomerate. I cover the news. I look at a lot of information and I give you my take. That's it.
Okay.
So let's close by forcing each of you to sort of steel man the other one's position. So, Link, what in your opinion is the best thing that Joe Biden has done and potentially the best reason for young people who are considering voting for him to vote for him?
Honestly, I can't think of one reason to vote for Joe Biden. I would say if you're pro-choice, you're definitely going to lean toward Biden. And I think that's up to a woman to make that decision. But for me personally, I'm not going to list all the accomplishments. We just heard Harry list 50 different things. So
there's nothing. Not one thing.
He gave abortion.
Not one thing that you think that he did that was like, all right, that was okay.
The thing is also, you guys, like I said, I'm not telling people to vote for Trump or Biden. I'm keeping options open. I really want a transformational younger leader. I mean, look what happened with Mitch McConnell yesterday. Look at Dianne Feinstein. Look at Joe Biden. Is it crazy to say, hey, can we have someone maybe in their 60s or 50s, someone who really speaks to us and understands the 21st century issues we have with cybersecurity and so many other things? Also, I don't really want a president pushing us deeper, deeper, deeper into conflict with Ukraine, Russia, et cetera, just to be honest. And we didn't even touch on that.
Okay,
Yes,
Harry, what about for you? What do you think is the biggest mistake or disappointment of the Biden administration?
Oh, wow. The biggest mistake or disappointment?
The cocaine in the White House. The granddaughter in Arkansas.
Let him respond, Link.
The border.
No, the border. No, not at all.
Well, I'm from Texas, so I'm just saying.
Oh, you're from Texas?
Yeah, so I'm saying open borders, not really my thing. I'd like to see a stronger border.
Anyway, listen, I'll try to answer the question, but if you were,
I'd say no cards.
All right, Link,
let him answer the question. Let him answer the question.
You had your chance. Go ahead, Harry.
If he wasn't answering,
I'm answering. If you were
honest,
Harry,
you got to give us an answer. All right.
Of course. If he was honest and not disingenuous, he wouldn't be talking about an open border. But in terms of failure of the Biden administration, one failure, I think that the Build Back Better, we had something great there, and it not being passed was unfortunate. And I wish that the child tax credit would have been longer. And I understand that politics got in the way, and maybe it wasn't possible with Manchin and Sinema, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a failure, but something I wish it would have happened under his term.
Child tax credit. Okay, gentlemen, each of you.
This was fun.
This was a lot of fun. But Link, tell people where they can find you, and then Harry,
you can find me at It's Link Lauren on TikTok and Twitter. And I also want to say thank you guys for having me, and also for Harry. I really do wish you the best. I went to NYU also, and I do like your content. I like seeing young people involved in politics for sure. And as a big brother, I just want to say, I'm so excited to see you travel across the country and meet more voters in different areas and hear their needs and their concerns, because I do think your content will become more nuanced and you'll have more empathy for other people for sure. But I love
that was a little condescending. Go ahead, Harry.
No,
listen. I won't throw the low blow. I won't throw the low blow. Listen.
No, I'm seriously not a low blow. I'm wishing
they have a show to do. They have a show to do. We can't talk. They have a show to do. All right. Anyway, sorry guys. You can find me on every platform. Harry J. Sisson. Likewise, Chris. Appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.
There you go.
Thanks, guys.
Go Bobcats. Right? Is that the right one?
And
is it the violet, Harry? Is it the violet or the Bobcat? I don't know. But
I don't know.
All right. Whatever.
All right, gentlemen.
That was fun. I really enjoyed that. For people who are just listening, you got to watch that, man. That was
there was a lot of emotive reaction.
You have to watch
it.
That was must-see content. Thank you very much to our producer Griffin. It was his idea in order to get this done, and he wrangled all the scheduling for that. So we appreciate everybody who watches the show and who helps us out here. BreakingPoints.com. Everyone have a fantastic Labor Day weekend. Everybody check out. Have a great time. We will be back here on Tuesday, and we'll see you then.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to BreakingPoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's BreakingPoints.com.